All right, people, welcome to another episode of Natty News Daily. We've got a special guest on, Eddie Saldana, my friend. How are you?
Hey, pretty good, man. Good for having.
Our Wi-Fi is being a bit of a pain right now, but that's all right.
Yeah, it was a little laggy there.
That's okay.
Yeah, hopefully I don't do that again.
So, Eddie, let's just kick it off with a brief introduction. Who you are, what you're all about. We've recently thrown your face up on the Natty News page, so I'm sure a lot of people watching will kind of recognize you just because you've been around the last couple of days. But who are you? What you're all about?
My name is Eddie. I'm 26. I've been training for a little bit over 10 years. I haven't done a lot of shows, a lot of competing. I did one show when I was right when I had turned 20. I had probably been training for about 4 years at that time. Then took a few years off, competed again in 2018.
Yep.
When I was about 23. Then took some time off after that, and I'm competing again. So this is going to be my third prep. And I plan to do 3, maybe even 4 shows. I'm still undecided. I'm kind of in the works with Cliff right now. So, something came up recently, and we're trying to see what's going to happen with that. Might do another show, but yeah, man, I'm just been training. I love it, and yeah, man, that's pretty much who I am.
Have you always been into bodybuilding, or did you dabble in powerlifting or anything like that prior?
No, I've always just loved training, man. And it's funny how it started. Being like a younger guy when I was like a teenager in high school, you see somebody with like big biceps, and you're like, oh, that's cool. Like, it's fascinating. Like, I want to be big, and I just started working out one day. My brother and me, we're like, hey, you know what? Well, we didn't know shit. We're like, hey, let's go to GNC and get some protein and start lifting. And that's kind of how it started. And it was like from one day, dude, like they just took off. Like, a lot of people have like moments where they start lifting, and then there's like a period where they take time off. They get lazy, or I never had that, man. It's like the last 10 years, it's always been like consistent. Just I've always I love training, man. So I've always been, it's always been a part of my life.
It's funny because how you said it, like how you got started. You said you went to GNC first, and then to the show.
Yeah, man. Like I said, man, like we didn't know anything. I was like 16, and we didn't know shit about lifting. We just like, let's just go buy some protein, and you try to get big. We didn't know anything. We got some dumbbells, we got a bench, so we used to work out at my parents' garage, and that's kind of how it started. Eventually, we got a gym membership. So it was all trial and error, man. A lot of YouTube, watching shit. There used to be this YouTube channel called eHow or some shit like that, and they would just show you like how to do like the most basic workouts. And honestly, that's how I learned. Pretty much, I taught myself. I learned a lot along the way. Like it was just it's been a great journey though, and I've enjoyed it.
It's funny. We're all 4 of us are all similar age, so I feel like we can all relate to that in some form or another. Because back in the day, there wasn't like Instagram, and I mean even YouTube was very, very small at the time. Like I remember watching like Elliot Hulse. That was where I got a lot of information, right? Yeah. James is not dead, right? But I feel like we can all resonate with that. Just I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew I loved working out, and I was like probably gonna go get some protein at some point, and then you just started doing stuff, right? And here we all are.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a story we can all relate to.
Absolutely, man.
So let's go back a bit to 2018. What shows? How'd you place? All that stuff.
So at the time, I didn't really have like a lot of people have a strategized time. Like, okay, they pick out a show, and I was working with Jeff at the time, and I was like, hey Jeff, I want to do a show next year. So I just looked up local WMBF shows here in my area.
Jeff Alberts.
There was no Jeff Nippert.
Jeff Nippert.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I should have prefaced by saying that. Yeah. And found a show. It was probably like about 6 months away. We started prepping, and it was about a 24-week prep, so about 6 months. Came into that. I was an amateur at the time. I'd never competed in the WMBF, and I showed up. I competed in the juniors because I was like 23 at the time, and I competed in the men's open for the amateurs. So I won the juniors, and I won my class. I think I was the lightweight class. Like, fuck, I don't remember it, man. I think I was 165. That's all I know. One of my class made to the overall. I won the overall, so I got my pro card for I qualified to compete as a pro after that, but I never competed. I never competed as a pro. So this is actually my first time since then, and now I have to requalify. Per WNBF rules, if you don't compete within 2 years, you have to requalify. Yeah. So I have to requalify. I found a show. I was like, just find a show. Like, this is the show that I'm gonna do. Try to get my pro qualifier. Then I have 2 shows after that I want to potentially do as a pro. So those are the plans for this year. And a lot of people have been asking me, like, are you going to do Worlds this year? I don't think I'm going to do Worlds. And the reason for that is because when I started this prep in December of last year, I was supposed to compete in June. Yeah. And I started this prep in December. Like, my mindset was never like, oh, I got to do Worlds this year. I never thought about it. And I was like, man, I just don't feel ready. Like, that caliber of athletes, I don't think I'm ready. Like, if I want to do Worlds, man, I want to win every show prior to that, because I want to know that I'm able to hold my own up there. And I don't know, man. I really don't know, man. It's like, I still think about it sometimes, to be honest. Shit, man. What if
it's on the table, man?
That's a long time, though.
Go for it. Absolutely go for it. Why not throw your hat in the ring?
Yeah, because originally I wanted to do the Muscle Mayhem. Like, I've been wanting to do the Muscle Mayhem since I was like 19. That's when, like, I remember when I did my first show ever, and I was about that age, 19, and that was like on Instagram. And that's when Instagram was starting to like, get more popular with, like, bodybuilding and all that. And I saw other bodybuilders, other natural guys, and I saw the Muscle Mayhem, and I was like, that just looks like a cool ass show. Like, I used to live in California, and I was like, man, I would love to go down there and do that show someday. And I saw the pictures of the athletes there. I was like, wow, these are some badass natural bodybuilders. Like, I want to be up there someday. So when I started this prep, that was a show, like, that was like the end goal for this season. And that show was originally scheduled to be in July.
Yeah.
That's October 29th now, right?
Yeah.
They're October 30th. Yeah.
The 30th. Yeah, because that's a potential show on my season.
Yeah, they moved it back. So once they moved it, I was like, oh, man, it just made this prep, the whole thing longer. But it was a blessing in disguise, man. I mean, everything's worked out. Feel really good right now. I'm like, that show is, I think, like 10 or 11 weeks away. I don't know, but I feel really good right now. Like, my energy is fine. I don't really feel like much fatigue. I'm eating a decent amount of food. So I honestly feel better right now, I think, than I did prior to when I was like 13 weeks out and I found out it got moved. It was just like a big mental break. I feel pretty good right now. So
awesome.
Yeah, man.
Sweet, man. Where are you located at, by the way? Where you live at?
In Washington. Washington State. Yeah.
Okay, so you're way out on the coast. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But you guys have a lot of good shows out there with California, though. So.
Yeah, and there's like I was saying, man, there is next month. There is 2 shows here in Washington. They're both pro qualifiers. They're in October. There's like 2 weeks before the Mayhem. There's the third.
Actually, yeah, I did see one of them was in Washington. Yeah.
Yeah. So for sure, I'm doing one next month on September 18th. I'm doing that one, like, absolutely doing that. But I found out there's one a week prior to that on September 11th. I was like, man, I didn't even know about it. I barely found out about it. And now I'm thinking, I'm like, that would put me at 3 weeks out. I'm like thinking, should I do it? Qualify, and then it's probably a couple hours away from me. So I'm thinking about it. I'm like, man, I don't know. I actually still have to talk to Cliff about it, and I'll see what happens, man. I haven't decided if I'm gonna do that yet. So
it's always if you can drive to a show and it's somewhere you don't have to travel and stay. Like, that's something I always think about. Like, it's like, man, that just makes things so much easier to do it.
Yeah, and I usually like to pick like local shows, shows that are within driving distance. I mean, we have quite a few here in Washington, which is awesome, for at least for the WNBF. I've looked up other federations. There's like IPE and OCB. We don't have any of those here, like anywhere near here, and I really don't want to like go like deal with the traveling expenses and then compete as an amateur just for a pro part in another federation, because like at the end of the day, I love training, man. I really just love to train. I love bodybuilding, and it's not like, oh, I have to compete. I have to, have to be on stage. Like, that's just a bonus. And WNBF, it's close by. It's convenient. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna do that. And eventually, though, I'm not saying I never would compete in other federations. I'd love to, but right now it's like it's not a. I guess I just right now I'm just trying to build a better physique, and I just love to train. So, well, focusing on that, the stage is always going to be there.
Oh, for sure.
I think that statement itself is huge, and I wish a lot of younger people, myself, my younger version of myself, would have heard that as well. Just because, like you said, like the stage is always there, and if people look back, like your physique, in 18 and all that was already incredible, but you've committed this whole time to growing, and it's only done you well. It's done you fantastic, and you're so committed to the process, where the results almost kind of, they speak for themselves. Like your placings, they're gonna be good. I think any one of us three here would say that you're gonna place well, regardless of what show you step into, because of that time that you committed.
Yeah, and I think like a lot of people, like I think the younger guys, like you were saying, your younger self, they're infatuated with that, just being on stage and being shredded and the abs and all that. And like, I think my enjoyment in the off season and just, the way I feel, my energy, my strength kind of outweighs that, this where I'm at right now with, being shredded, being lean, looking good with the pump. Like, it's awesome. It's awesome to, always look good, be able to take the shirt off and look good, anytime, anywhere. But I mean, I enjoy like the off season probably more just because I know that I'm going to look better the following, the next time that I go into do a prep or just, do a cut or whatever it is. I mean, that's, definitely probably enjoy that more.
I kind of look at it as investing versus cashing out. So like, off season, you're investing, and, preps, you're basically just cashing that out.
Yeah. And I think like a lot of guys that are, like I was saying, like the younger guys, they don't really want to go through that off-season phase, like, I have to spend 2 years to put on this much muscle. Like, I just want to be shredded. I want to be lean, and social media probably plays a huge role in that. And when I started out, like I was saying, social media wasn't really around, so like I never was like about like, I gotta post, a badass picture with my abs showing, like, I just had this love for just going to the gym and beating myself up and just watching my body change. And that's kind of what, like, I think because I came into this, into the sport of bodybuilding with that, with that perspective about it, it's never really changed, so.
Talk about that period of time you've had off and, what you did with Cliff during that time, like weight push-up, training style, like how did you, I guess, make those investments over the last few years?
Man, to be honest, man, it's really, really boring. It's really just going to the gym and training. That's all it is. It's so slow. It's very, very slow process. You're not gonna put on.
I'm glad you're saying that, because I think that soundbite needs to be heard by a lot of people.
Well, it's the truth, man. I mean, not like and Cliff would tell me all the time, like, "Hey, Eddie, so like sometimes I would be on the same amount of food, or it would increase by a very small amount of calories over the course of months, and it's like
50 grams of carbs.
Yeah, exactly. And like you physically, you look the same, or you don't want to get too fat in the off season. But as far as training, well, I pretty much do with Cliff. I mean, you work with Cliff as well, so I don't know if our training. I'm gonna guess our training programs are quite similar, but I mean, I've had push-pull leg programs, but a lot of it is bro splits. Where just like currently, for example, I have like a leg day, then I have like a back end. What is it? I think it's back end, back traps and biceps, something like that. Then like chest and shoulders or whatever. And then there'll be a day in the week where I'll focus on like my lagging body parts, like my back and my chest, so things like that. That's pretty much how the majority of the training with Cliff is, and that's honestly my favorite style of training. I like to look at the program, and I swap things out a lot. If it's like a movement that I feel I can't get good activation on, like on a certain muscle, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna swap that out.
Yep.
But and that's okay with Cliff. He always tells me, if something works better for you, do that instead. But as far as the training goes, that's been the training. The off season, it's just I probably had in those 3 years that I was working with Cliff, and prior to starting this prep, I probably had one mini cut the entire time. The rest of it was being in a surplus. you know, getting up to about, I think 210 pounds was the heaviest I got. That was the biggest I've ever been, and that was fat.
How tall are you?
Man. I'm not gonna say this. I'm 5'9".
Yeah, so that's up
Damn.
there.
So, and yeah, I was 210, man, and like right now, I am 170, like 2 or 73, right around, fluctuating right around there. So I probably, how much is that? Like 35. I don't even know, 25, 35. Yeah, that was like about 35 pounds ago, I think it was. Yeah, man. So yeah, man. That's pretty much how it's all been the last few years. You know, it was like during that time of growing, like just focusing on building everything. You know, building my weaker body parts, and then now started the prep, and you're able to see, like, I'm able to see, you know, all the progress that was made within that time, and that's, to me, is probably the most fascinating part about, you know, doing this. It's like being able to see what changes you made since the last time you competed. It's cool, man.
What did you go in the off season wanting to work on? What did you and Cliff say like needs the most work?
Originally, when I first started with them, it was my back, because I had sent him my stage photos, and it was mostly like the lower lats in the back, like you know.
Sounds like he told you a lot of the same stuff. He's like, man, this entire posterior chain needs some
but
more.
It was also my chest, and I still think that to this day my chest is probably my most lacking body part. I think I'm not saying my back is my back is okay. I think it's okay. I definitely still want more thickness on it, but I think my chest is my most lacking body part, and like, man, it's so damn stubborn. So going into my next off season, and I'll talk with Cliff about, you know, what we're gonna, you know, we'll make a plan for sure. Because the next time that I do compete, whenever that may be years down the road, I'm gonna do worlds for sure. Like, I want to do worlds for sure. But before we even get there, I want to work on for sure my back, my chest, and I want more hamstrings.
So, for the viewers that don't know what you look like. This is Eddie, and Eddie's jacked.
To say the least.
so this right here is, what'd you say, 172?
Yeah, I mean, that was midday, so I was probably closer to 175, you know, ish. 172 is like my morning weight, completely fasted. I was probably like 175 in that picture.
Do you guys have a rough estimate of what you'll get down to? Like, will you creep into the 160s?
I'll definitely be into the 160s, man. I could squeeze out a few more pounds from where I'm at right now, and I was like 172 has been my leanest so far, and I could definitely get that into the 160s. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, man, you look insane.
And I think this is a big lesson for a lot of. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, looking at your photos, looking at like your numbers, I think it's a lesson for a lot of our listeners in general, but probably the more inexperienced ones, that like your height and weight don't necessarily matter. Because you're 5'9", I'm 5'9.5". I bulked up to 215, you bulked up to 210, but like you look and probably do have like 10 more pounds of lean muscle. So like, it's bodybuilding. It's all what the look is. It doesn't matter what the numbers are on paper. It doesn't matter like what your stage competition like weight is or body fat. It's all the look and all how your frame is structured and, you know, your proportions and everything. So
I mean, absolutely. People tell. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you can have two bodybuilders that both are 165 on stage, same height, and look absolutely different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because people are surprised all the time when I tell them my weight. They're like, what? Like, you know, I thought you were like 180, 190. I'm like, no, I'm in the low 170s, you know, and I'm probably going to get into the 160s. You know, like I said, my last show that I did, I actually sunk all the way down to 163, man, just because I really wanted to make that weight class. You know, it was like I think it was 165. I think that's lightweight. I forget the weight classes, man. I don't know if it's lightweight, middleweight, but I think it's lightweight. And it's like 165.
Like this photo, you're 163. You look like you're like 195.
I mean, I probably carved up and got up to the higher 160s.
Still
stage,
though,
and
still.
yeah,
Regardless of
yeah,
the 5-pound difference, you look like you're 30 pounds heavier.
yeah. And people think that all the time. I'm like, man, this is what I weigh, man. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's just a number. What really matters is how you look on stage next to the other competitors, you know. So just trying to bring a better look this time around, and just trying to have fun with it, man. I mean, I try not to take it so serious. I mean, at the end of the day, I tell myself, like, I don't know who's gonna show up. I don't know who's gonna show up, man. But I know I'm showing up, and I know that I'm gonna bring my best. That's all I can do. That's the only thing that I can control. Just show up at my very absolute best, and just enjoy the experience, have fun with it. So, I mean, like I said, man, I'm just excited to get on stage. Just because this prep has been so long.
Yeah, for sure. Who do you draw inspiration from within the sport?
Like overall natural bodybuilding, or
just who do you look at and you're like, whether it's a physique standpoint, whether it's how they train, whether it's how they approach bodybuilding, like who do you kind of keep an eye on?
Well, when it comes to training, I really like to see guys that train like really, really like hard, really intense. Like that really drives me. And for me, it kind of gives me like a layout of how training should be done. Like that's the way you're supposed to train. It speaks for itself. You see guys that train like really just like, I don't know, like take somebody like Jordan Peters, for example. He puts up these videos and he's training like fucking balls to the walls. And I'm like, dude, I got to go to the gym and I got to replicate that, or even watching like old footage of like Tom Platz or Dorian Yates. I'm like, man, that's fucking awesome. I want to train like that. Sure. And of course, over the years, my approach to training has changed a lot. Like I used to train really aggressive in my younger days, man. I used to like go into the gym and I got hurt a lot because of it, and because of it, I got a back injury a few years ago. I don't really squat anymore, because of that. So I just have to find other ways to train my legs. But I still go to the gym, and every time I'm in there, man, I just try to think like, can I work harder than last time? So like I'm going on a tangent, man, but that's I think a lot of it comes down to just training really hard. So I like to look at guys that train really hard. And as far as like natural bodybuilding, I've always really, really admired Doug Miller, man. Like he was probably the first natural bodybuilder that I saw that I was like completely blown away. And I probably get a lot of shit for that from people like, oh, he's not Natty. Like I don't give a fuck, man. I think he is. I believe him, and I give him the benefit of the doubt. I don't really care. I'm not here to argue about it. But when it comes to natural bodybuilding, I think Doug Miller was like the first guy that I saw when I was like probably like was like 2014 when he last competed, and I was like, holy shit, like that's possible,
Yeah.
And I think it's awesome, especially watching him train. Like if you watch
Doug's
videos of him training,
he's a freak.
Yeah. So I think I definitely draw a lot of inspiration from him.
Yeah, he trains like a madman, and he's one of those guys like you'll never not be blown away. Like you show me a picture of Doug now, like holy shit. You show me a picture of Doug a week from now, holy shit. Like that feeling never goes away looking at Doug. He's incredible.
What I like about him too is he's especially his training is very much, I don't want to use the word against what is popular, but he does a bro split. He does like 4 or 5 sets of everything, 20 reps to failure, like drop sets, the whole 9 yards, right? Whereas, right now it's all about fatigue management and, push pull leg, like, it's very, very opposite to what Doug does. But I mean,
that's very true. I mean,
Doug's, he's a genetic elite, but I like that he has forged his own path, kind of deal, right? I kind of dig that that he's like, screw everybody else, I'm gonna do my own thing, and he's
it works for him,
Yeah.
It's not gonna work for everybody else, that especially that that amount of volume, like most people wouldn't be able to recover from that, especially if you're actually training that intense, you're not gonna be able to recover from that. So
for sure. So let's talk about, I guess, your goals within the sport, what you see from yourself. I want to know what it feels like to have your coach basically tell you have the potential to be a world champion one day, and what that feels like.
Man, I really wanted that before I started this prep. Like I was telling myself, man, I really want to win a world championship one day, and man, like through this prep though, I feel like my mind, I just feel like my mindset kind of changed. Like I was taking it so serious, and I'm like, you know what, man. And Cliff kind of told me, you know, he's like, just kind of enjoy it, you know, because if you set these like ridiculously high goals for yourself, like, oh, I have to win a world title like this year, whatever, and it doesn't happen, you're just gonna lead yourself to disappointment. And I was like, you know what, totally right. I just want to enjoy the process, and if it happens, you know, awesome. You know, if it never happens, it never happens. But I do believe that I could make it to the world stage. I mean, and you know, place well. But I've never really thought about it like as far as like that's like I want to be a world champion one day. You know, like that was never really a goal. I just had this love for training, and then decided to compete. And now that I've been training for 10 years,
yep,
and I'm gonna compete again, I'm like, you know what? I'll probably do world one day, and you know, maybe win. Who knows? But it feels great to hear that from Cliff. You know, that he believes in me. So
it sounds like you have a very mature and healthy attitude towards the sport and towards competing, right? Because you know, like Cliff told you, you can get these lofty goals, whether it's turning pro, winning this show, going to worlds or whatever, and you know, those are very big goals that at the end of the day only one person is going to be able to do, right? Only one person is going to win that show. Only one person is going to get that pro card. And you know what, no matter how good you are, the odds are against you, right? Because there's so many other people trying to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, for you, if you just have that deep love of training, you know, you can get on stage, you can present a better physique than you did, you know, in 2019 or whatever someone competed last. Like that at the end of the day is a very good feeling, regardless of the outcome. So, you know, that's one thing that, you know, we talked about kind of working with Cliff earlier before we went live, but his mentality towards not only bodybuilding, but life, he's got a very, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Like healthy way of looking at things without, you know, setting yourself up for frustration and disappointment and then getting negative connotation towards competing or towards a placing or whatever, where it's like, you know, going into it very open-minded and very healthy.
It's a mature and wise perspective.
Yeah. You know, like you said, Eddie, like, you know, it may never happen, but that doesn't take away from your enjoyment out of everything you're doing, right?
Yeah. And like, I think about it, like, so like I said, my ultimate goal for this prep has been the Muscle Mayhem. Like, what if I don't even win that? You know what I mean? Then I don't want to feel like, oh man, if I can't even win this show, how am I gonna ever, you know, win a world title? So that's something that kind of made me step back and was like, you know what, man, just show up at your very best and enjoy the process. And if you do win, or if you do make it, you know, to the world stage one day, that'll be awesome, you know, and it'll be a very rewarding feeling, because like, damn, you know, I kind of had this vision that this would happen someday, and now it's happening. So yeah, man. But I'll be honest though, I really want to win. Like, I'm thinking about like competing.
with all that being said, I want to win.
Yeah, like I want to win, man. Like you know, for like every show that I do, I'm like, fuck, I want to win. Like, I'm not showing up just to participate.
For sure.
I want to win, man. Like, you know,
it's that fine line, right? Like, I think all of us can attest to that feeling, right? Like none of us go to a show to not win. I think if you go into a show with that mindset, you're shooting yourself in the foot. But on the flip side, it's kind of like the devil and angel on your shoulder, right? Like, this guy's like, I want to win. I'm a killer. I'm going to take this. But then this side's like, man, like, let's go have fun.
Yeah. And like, I know there's like bodybuilders out there that are better than me, and, you know, they could show up at this show, and, you know, and then, you know, you know, the results come in, and it is what it is, man. You know, I still got to be like, hey, I showed up my very best. I'm proud of what I accomplished, and like, to me, that's still a win within itself. Like, because this entire prep, man, I mean, I haven't missed a single meal, a single training session.
Nope.
And honestly, I think something that's huge is to kind of have that same like approach in the off season, man. Like, even in my off season, like, I still weigh all my food, I still hit all my meals, I get all my training in, I train intense, and I just carry that over into my prep. You know what I mean? So that's probably what's gotten me to where I am today, just having that same approach to it all over the last 10 years.
Awesome. Right on, man.
I'm with you on that, on the off season thing, because I think a lot of, you know, it can be overlooked a lot, and it's easier to kind of tunnel vision and dial it in when you've got a contest on the horizon and that you're specifically targeting, but the off season when you actually grow muscle. So, yeah, if you could dial it in your off season, you can make massive improvements. And yeah, I completely agree with that sentiment.
Yeah, man, 100%.
Awesome, man. Let's close this out with your biggest piece of advice to the 17, 18, 19-year-old getting into the gym, looks at you, says, man, I want to do that. What do you tell that kid?
Dude, just honestly, just a lot of consistency and patience, and just training really hard, because it's not going to happen over the course of 1 year or 2 years or whatever it is. People, I was talking to a few young guys at the gym a few weeks ago, and they asked me how long I've been training, and when I told them, they looked at each other shocked, like, fuck that, I'm not going to do that. And it's like, hey man, that's what it takes, because like I hear the term like peak natty, and that shit irritates the hell out of me. It's like, well, how do you know what peak natty is if you don't actually try to work for it? Just have a plan. Like, okay, I'm gonna follow a nutrition plan, I'm gonna follow a training plan, I'm gonna give it everything I got over many years, and I'm gonna see where it gets me. And that's how you're gonna know what your I guess I'd say your genetic potential, whatever it is. Just train really hard for many years, stay consistent. That's pretty much all bodybuilding is.
And it's interesting how that perspective shifts throughout your training career too. Like, I look back like years and years ago, and like a 6-week training cycle. Holy heck, that was a long training cycle. And now at 6 weeks, it's like, it's just a little blip, small blip. Like they just fly by at this point.
Well, you gotta have you really gotta have this love, this passion, this desire for it. Otherwise, you're gonna get bored of it really quick, or you're not gonna see the results you want in the time span that you want, and then you're gonna kind of fall off. You're gonna get lazy in your training and your dieting, and it's just you're gonna set yourself up for failure, man. You kind of gotta you gotta realize that when if you want to be a bodybuilder, you kind of just gotta have that understanding of it from the beginning. Not I mean, they probably see like these guys on social media and they're infatuated with the look, but they got to understand what it takes to get there. What I mean? And that's a lot of hard work.
For sure. Awesome, man. Where can people find you on social media that want to stay up to date with the journey?
So it's my Instagram. You got shared. It was Eddie __1995. And I'll just be sharing on there, the rest of this prep, just, shooting up some pictures, videos, training, whatever it is, all that jazz.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you coming on, buddy.
Hey, man, thanks for having me, man. Anytime you guys want to have me on again, I'd love to be on and just, chop it up with you guys.
All right. We're going to hold you to that.
Thanks, Eddie. Sure, maybe we'll meet up actually in person.
Hey, that'd be awesome, man. That'd be awesome for sure.
Awesome. Well, if you guys enjoyed this episode, please give it a like. Don't forget to follow Eddie on social media, stay up to date with his prep, and obviously follow our Instagram at Natty_news_daily. And we'll see you guys in the next one.